Hey everyone, welcome to the top 10 list. Welcome to my top 10 movies that are good and also bad, with good Rotten Tomato scores and bad Rotten Tomato scores. Yes, I had a recommendation to do this. I thought this was a pretty cool idea, is to make a top 10 list of movies I think that are good movies, but they have bad scores on Rotten Tomatoes. And then I do another video doing the top 10 movies I think are bad, but have good ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. So yeah, I think this is going to be a fun list to do and a fun video, so let's just get right into it. Here's my top 10 movies I think are good. I think these are good movies, but for some reason they have bad scores on Rotten Tomatoes. And I know you're supposed to do your honorable mentions, but I only have two honorable mentions really, and that's Madagascar, the first one, and Robin Hood. They're both negative on Rotten Tomatoes, but I think they're pretty good movies. But they just gonna make the top 10 list. But what didn't make my top 10 was my number 10. My number 10 is The Lion King 2: Simba's Pride. Yes, this movie has a whopping 43% on Rotten Tomatoes, and honestly, it's not that bad of a film. Actually, it's pretty darn good. Actually, they have a lot of the returning cast in this film, and I think it's an interesting story having this. Simba's daughter, basically she falls in love with this other lion, and it's Kovu, and it's Scar's fucking son and stuff. I don't really know how that works out in the canon of Lion King, but who knows? Scar was in charge of Pride Rock for a very long time, so who knows? Maybe he did meet a lioness and made some kids and shit like that, but Kovu and the relationship between Kovu and Simba's daughter is interesting, and I like Simba as like this king, and he basically wants what's good for his people. And yeah, I think it's an interesting story with a pretty nice romance with some pretty good songs. It's a pretty dark and heavy stuff in it. I don't think it has good villains like the Lion King, the original. You'll never get a good villain like Scar, but this movie still does have some dark, edgy moments and some okay songs. And I think it's actually a pretty darn good movie and a pretty worthy sequel, and better. And it's easily better than Lion King 1.5. That's a fucking stupid movie. But yeah, Lion King 2: Simba's Pride, good movie, doesn't deserve the 43%. Coming in at number 9 is I'm continuing with the straight-to-DVD Disney sequels. Aladdin, the King of Thieves. I was gonna say the Prince of Thieves. So Aladdin, the King of Thieves has a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's a little low. I think this is actually a really good sequel. The Return of Jafar is a very problematic sequel. I wouldn't really call it a bad movie, but I really wouldn't call it a good movie. I would call this a good movie. I like John Rhys-Davies in this movie as Aladdin's dad and stuff. I like that they brought in Aladdin's dad. I thought that was really cool. I like Aladdin. I like Jasmine. I love the song that they sing of Out of Thin Air. The music is really great. And they were smart. They brought Robin Williams back as the genie. And as much as Dan Castellaneta is a good voice actor, he's just no genie. That's why I don't have any faith in Will Smith. Robin Williams is so good in this movie. He is super funny, has great improv, great comedy, great slapstick. It's so fast-paced and so visual. It's super, super funny. Some of the animation is really cool. I love the scenes with the head to Midas and stuff, and I think that's pretty good. The villain's a little weak and stuff, but I still think it's a good movie and a good sequel. It's not as good as the first Aladdin, but it's a good sequel. Coming in number 8 is The Road to El Dorado. Yes, The Road to El Dorado is a film I grew up with as a kid. I thought this was such a fun film, such a funny movie. I hate that it has a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think people just don't like fun films. This is just a fun movie. It's a fun DreamWorks animated movie. It's not as good as like The Prince of Egypt or even Ants, but it's still a good movie. Has two great lead guys, Miguel and Tulio, played by Kenneth Branagh and Kevin Kline, two actors I adore. They're both super funny in this film. A lot of people say it would have been much funnier in live action because it would have been a lot like The Princess Bride. Yes and no. I still think it has beautiful animation, has a fun villain, has a fun story about these guys trying to find the city of gold, and then when they find it, the people think they're gods and stuff, and God, it's tough to be a god. So great. I love how it's directed. I love the animation. I love the visual style, and I love the comedy, and I love these two lead characters, and yeah, I just really enjoy Road to El Dorado. Coming in at number 7 is Balto. Balto has 52% on Rotten Tomatoes, so still a little negative. It's like more in the halfway. Still a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes, and honestly, this is actually a pretty good film. Actually, it's very historically inaccurate of the real Balto story, and it really just like side sweeps like the actual sled dogs that actually did save people's lives and stuff. But I still think it's good. I think Kevin Bacon does a good job and stuff. I think the villain is ridiculously over the top, but makes it comical. I still think there's good feel-good moments, the very nice animation. There's genuine tension in the third act. I think it's a very sweet, lighthearted film. It's nothing amazing, but I still think it's a very good film, and I think kids should definitely watch it. Again, it's not very accurate, but still it's a good movie. Coming in at number 6 is Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Yes, just like Road to El Dorado, has a 49% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't understand why. I think this movie is really, really, really good. It was written by Joss Whedon, and it has a really good stellar cast with Michael J. Fox and stuff. Cool villains, a cool idea. It's not very capitalistic. It doesn't really shy away from the darkness, and it doesn't shy away from very unpleasant things and unpleasant themes and imagery and stuff, and it tries to talk to the kids like that are watching this movie like they're adults and very mature and stuff, and I think that's interesting. It's very educational. You learn a lot and stuff. It has a few issues here and there, and there's some stuff that does drag on and don't work, but I still think it's a very good film, and I think people really needed to give it a chance. I think people are overly harsh on this film, and I think it's a very underrated Disney film. Coming in number 5 is, surprisingly enough, a B movie. It's a B movie. I think this is a good movie. It has a whopping 50% right down the middle, and I think it should be a positive review. I think you should have a positive rating on this this channel, or this site, sorry. I don't run Rotten Tomatoes, maybe in the future, but still, I think this is a cool idea. Jerry Seinfeld playing this bee, exploring the human world and stuff, and the best thing about this movie is that you don't know where it's going. It goes in one way, and then goes another way, and has all these other things that are happening. It's not predictable or cliched. You have no idea where it's going, and it's interesting. It's a fun ride stuff. Jerry Seinfeld is a lot of fun, and he's really funny in this movie, and it has that sort of narcissistic feel at times, which is kind of hilarious and stuff, and yeah, it's a good time. That's simple as that. It's not like an amazing film, but it's a very good film that does deserve a higher rating. Coming in number 4 is the Rugrats movie. Yes, this movie just made it in because it has a 59% on Rotten Tomatoes, so it just barely made it in, and yes, Rugrats in Paris is a better film, but this is still a very good movie. I remember seeing the Rugrats movie in theaters, and I had a lot of fun with it, and I still, to this day, have a lot of fun with it. It's a good show, and it's got two good movies, and this is a good movie. I still think it's a little overly negative and stuff. Shouldn't be. Basically, this is a movie for the fans of the show, and it's funny, it's endearing, it's lighthearted, it's just a good time with all our awesome characters of Phil, Dill, and Chucky, and Tommy, Angelica, all of them, and yeah, it's a good time. Coming in number 3 is Don Bluth's All Dogs Go to Heaven. All Dogs Go to Heaven, such a great film. I grew up with this movie, loved this movie. The sequel's a lot more ridiculous, but I have a soft spot for it, even though it's a pretty bad movie. This one is so much fun. I have no idea why it has the 55% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't get it. Why do people hate fun films? This is just a fun, lighthearted story with awesome, interesting characters, great music, great animation. Just an all-around good, warm, fuzzy feel when you watch it. What else do you want from a kid's movie? It has no bad messages, shitty characters, annoying writing, bad plot holes. It doesn't have any of that. It's just a fun time. Coming in number 2 is a film that is so shocking that it's so low on Rotten Tomatoes, and that's another movie that's written by Joss Whedon. That's Titan A.E. Titan A.E. is such a great film. A lot of people say it borrowed a lot of tropes from other films, and at times, yes, but it still feels like its own fresh film, and I think this is a great movie. I think it's super overlooked, super underrated, and has a 51% for some stupid-ass reason, which I don't understand. The voice acting is great by Matt Damon and Drew Barrymore. The animation, the visuals are fantastic. The action is intense. The ending is super good, and it has a lot of cool, thought-provoking ideas in it, and I think it's a super underrated animated film, and I think people should definitely check it out. And my number one movie that I think is very good, but has a bad rating on Rotten Tomatoes, is the most shocking out of all of them, and that's The Polar Express. Yeah, 55% Polar Express, what the fuck? Like, seriously, this is a really great film with a really cool idea, and it's bashed by the critics. Well, it's not bashed, but it has a negative rating, and I don't understand why. I think Tom Hanks is great, the animation's great, the stop-motion animation is really good, Zemeckis' direction's good. I love that it tackles the belief structure of believing in Santa Claus. I think it's interesting. It has some cool ideas, and every scene on the train is super good, super intense. It's very dark, and again, when they talk about belief in Santa, it's so interesting and so real and so humanistic that I just absolutely adore it. And it's easily one of my favorite animated Christmas films out there, and why it has a 55%, I have no fucking idea. So yeah, that's my top 10 good movies with bad scores on Rotten Tomatoes. So yeah, look forward to the next one. Well, I'll be doing the bad movies with the good scores. So yeah, in the comment section below, please tell me, did you agree with this top 10 list? And if you did agree with it, what are some of your picks? What are animated movies that have bad scores, but you consider them good films? Give me your thoughts and opinions, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please like, subscribe to this channel, and join the dark side.